Being gluten-free means cutting out a lot of foods from your diet, which is a bummer. Fortunately, there are plenty of new recipes and substitutes coming out all the time to help fill the gaps. But the recipe we're using in this video is not new. Korean fried chicken as it exists today has been around for decades and has enjoyed steady popularity because of its crunchy texture and the delicious sauces it's served with. I wanted to figure out how to make the best version of this tasty dish, so I'm testing out 5 different techniques to get the perfect crunch. When doing research on this episode, I mainly saw 2 different types of coating being used: cornstarch and potato starch. So naturally, we need to test both to figure out which one is best. Next, I decided I wanted to try a technique that's used in Southern American fried chicken called double dredging, which is a process that builds the crust up to get a more crunchy final product. I also found a Kenji Lopez alt recipe that uses a batter in addition to the cornstarch coating. That recipe isn't gluten-free, but I thought it was really interesting, so we're going to test that today as well. Now we got a lot of chicken and not a lot of time, so let's get cooking. Fuck it, I'm leaving it in. Alright, so the first step here is to make the coatings. So to start, I'm doing the cornstarch mixture. This is going to consist of cornstarch, garlic powder, baking powder, salt, some freshly cracked pepper, as well as some grated ginger. As always, the exact ingredient amounts will be able to be found on my website. Just follow the link in the description. In order to keep everything on a level playing field, I'm mixing in the same ingredients to the potato starch with the same ratios. Now to dredge. Dredging is just a fancy word for coating something with powder or batter. First, I'm doing the traditional method, which is just a single coating of cornstarch. Next, I'm doing a double dredge, which is dipping the chicken in egg, then in cornstarch, then back in the egg, then in the starch again. The third batch you see here is the batter. The recipe calls for coating in starch for now, then doing the batter right before the pieces get fried. Next up, the potato starch. We're just doing the single and double dredge for these guys. All of these are going to the refrigerator, uncovered, for at least 30 minutes, though I think I ended up closer to an hour. This helps the coating adhere to the chicken and result in a better fry all around. While we're waiting, we'll make the sauce. Into a small pot, we'll add butter, honey, brown sugar, rice vinegar, gochujang, and ketchup. We'll bring that up to a light simmer before realizing we forgot our grated garlic and ginger, then bring it back to a light simmer just for 30 seconds or so before setting aside. I also made the batter, which consisted of all-purpose flour, cornstarch, salt, vodka, water, and garlic powder. I ended up having to add some more water to thin it out until a thin ribbon from the whisk would disappear quickly into the batter, like this. Now we're ready for frying. I heated about 2 quarts of oil to 350 degrees and dropped the chicken in batches. Its first fry is to fully cook the chicken, which took about 13 minutes. It's really important to have an instant read thermometer handy in this case, so you can make sure that everything is fully cooked through. For the battered pieces especially, it would have been nearly impossible to tell if they were done. You'll see the pieces are a little pale after our first fry, which is why we're putting them back into the fryer for about 5 more minutes to get a nice darker color. Now we'll give these a quick toss in the sauce. These all got sufficient coverage, but if I was to do this again, I would have made more sauce so it would be easier to get every nook and cranny. I plated these up with some nice spring onions and some sesame seeds, and then it was time to test. Starting with the single coated cornstarch, these had more crunch than I was expecting with such a thin coating. With the addition of the sauce, I was expecting something softer, but this was perfect. Getting to the double dredge cornstarch, this was definitely crispier with a heavier coating. The flavor was still good, but the extra coating was just a little more than I really wanted. Next, the battered chicken. This was the only non-gluten-free batch that I made, and it was definitely the worst. Don't get me wrong, the flavor was still good. I actually liked the taste of the batter, but it was just so much and difficult to eat. Maybe I should have thinned out the batter a little bit more, but overall, I just think it was an unnecessary addition. Moving on to the potato starch. So the flavor difference here is pretty subtle, but it was there, and I have to say that I like the potato better. The crispiness was about the same as the single-coated cornstarch. The double dredge potato starch was actually way crispier than the cornstarch. Or, I'm not sure if crispy is the right word, the coating was harder, like my jaw got tired eating it. Tasty, but again, the additional layer of coating wasn't needed. Overall, I would say the traditional single coating method with the potato starch was the way to go. Now you know how to make it at home. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.